Hi guys, today we'll be making a calculator, and the first thing we need to do is to go to Microsoft Visual Studio and access the Windows Forms app. We're gonna name it. I'm gonna name it and we'll create. So the good thing with Windows is once you create your Windows forms, you get the form, which is basically the template of the calculator we're going to create, and on the side we have the toolbox. So the toolbox consists of all the objects that we are actually going to put in the calculator, which is usually a button, the screen, and whatnot. So here, if we just on the design, there we have a button, and if we click on the text box, we can create the text box or the screen that is actually going to be used to calculate and see if to see the output of our calculations. Okay, so this is my final. Okay, so guys, this is the final design that I've made of the calculator. I've simply used the toolbox to insert the radio buttons, which you can find right here, and a checkbox, which I'm going to use to edit the dark mode of the calculator, and of course all the other buttons, which you simply just pick from the toolbox, and you can easily design, drag, drop, copy, paste. And if you look, each one of them, if you look at this radio button 1, radio button 2, each one of them has a name, and you'll find that these are actually objects, and the property is a name, and that is how we'll be able to access them when we are trying to add more functionality to the calculator. So we'll be referencing each person using their name. And to do that, simply all I do is you can right click, then to properties, and you'll find there's even a text. Now we can name this button to maybe, let's say, number 2, and you'll see it changes to the number 2. And we can even edit the name of the button right up here, and we can call it button 2. And they say property value is not valid. Well, it actually is. You'll just find that there's a button that already has, so here we go, there's a button that already has that name. So also keep in mind that if a button, which let's just say an object, has a name, we cannot use the same name to reference another object. So this is the final design. Basically, as I said, each button's property name can be changed simply by clicking the button, going to the properties pane, and you will find all the properties that can be edited. And I've simply edited the text, which I've changed this to number 9, and you can edit the text of each button, radio button, checkbox, to contain the text that you want. So here I've simply clicked on the form, and I've even changed the text of what I was up here, which was form 1, and now it says Harriet's calculator. And now what we're gonna do is remove the minimum, minimize, and maximize box, which is easy. All you have to do is just come to the property, and you'll see minimize box change from true to false, and maximize box to false, and it's no longer there. So I've done a bit more editing, and on the display screen you can now see that it has 0, and you can simply do that by going to the text of object in particular, changing it to 0. I've aligned it to the right, and I can also change it simply, as you can see, and it looks so much better on the right. So guys, since I already have the code, all I'll do, I'll just run through it and I'll explain what each of the code does. So if we click on scientific, you want to go up here to access the events, and in the events we'll want to monitor the click event. So when it's clicked on, we want to trigger something, so we want it to do something. And what I will do, since this is the scientific, we'll go to that, and I will simply change the ISO. This will reference the current object, which is basically the form, and it will be this dot the name of the property. So height, we're going to edit the height, and we're going to change that to 570. And I also need you can come here, and if you look at the click name for the event, click it's standard. And so if you click on standard, I want this, so the form height, to change to 502, which is the current one. And if we do that and simply run the calculator, you will see there's a few changes. So when we click on scientific, you can see that it brings out the set. So it brings out the sin, cos, power 2, so, and log. Okay, so I've already run the code, and this is the standard calculator. It's the scientific calculator. You can see it has the log, power, if you want to square any number, cos, sine. Okay, so now what I've done, I've created a click event for dark mode, because I wanted, once we click on the dark mode, I want everything to go dark. What I'm going to do, I'm going to first create a list, and then I'm going to loop through the list of buttons, and it will change, the design of the calculator to be dark. Okay, so I've created the lists of the buttons, and I've created a loop which will basically take the entire length of the button, which will go through each of the buttons, and it will simply change the background color and the color of the font, and it will also change the color of the form itself, so that it is also in the dark mode. Otherwise, it will remain the same as it is now in the design, if the dark mode is not checked. So here we say dark mode is checked. If it's true, then it will change everything to dark mode. Otherwise, it will remain all the same. So these are the current system colors. As you can see, these are the current colors of the form. So, and this will change them to dark mode. Moving on, I made a collection of all of the buttons with numbers and including the decimal, and I made an event click called numClick for all of them. And in the numClick function, you can see that we have the parameter object, which when we go and we create the button object, it will be able to capture the event that you've clicked, any of the collections that we just made. And with that, we will be able to display the text by appending it to the num.txt. And remember, num references whichever button you click, so it will basically append itself to the screen. So if any of the numbers, including the decimal, appends on the screen, then we can look at that with, and there we go, it works. and we also get rid of the 0 using the clear. And when we look at the code, I made an on-click event for clear. So when you click on clear, the text display, the text will be 0, and the label which we created will be empty, and we'll later see the use of the label as we go through the functionality of the calculator. So now looking here, I made a collection of common operators which are commonly used on any calculator. So that includes the plus, minus, division, and I gave them the click event common operator. And when we go to the function, you can see I created an object which once again will capture the event that you've clicked on any of the buttons, and I made